In this question, we are putting students in certain categories, and I'll write them out this way. We have students who live on campus. I'll just write it that way. They live on campus. And then there's another category. We have students who are older than 20. So why don't we write 21 plus, 21 or older. And we're told that there are students in both categories. The two categories overlap. This is called an overlapping sets question. If I erase what I just wrote and started to rewrite the second set this way, I could write, so these are the people who are 21 or older. And here we have people who are in both categories. You will oftentimes see a question like this, an overlapping sets question on the GMAT. And the best way to handle it, the best way to diagram it, I'm going to switch slides here. We're going to create a matrix, and it's going to look like this. We're going to have two columns and two rows. Now the column on the left is going to represent the people who live on campus. Now the second column, I could write off for people who live off campus, but instead I'm going to write people who do not live on campus, to emphasize the fact that the two groups of people, these two columns, have to be mutually exclusive. You cannot possibly be in both columns. You have to be in one or the other. Now, how about grouping the students by age? Well, here we're going to create two rows. The top row is going to be the students who are older than 20. So we said, what, 20 plus. And then the bottom row, I'm going to say who are not older than 20. So this is our matrix. The total number of students is the sum of the students in each of these four boxes, and we're told that is 800. So we'll write the total. We'll always write the total down here in the lower right. And let me clean this up a little bit. Always going to put the total in the lower right. And now let's plug in what we know. In the upper left, the number of people who are in both categories is 250. Next step, look at the question and let's circle a box or boxes to be crystal clear on what they're looking for. We want to know how many people live on campus and are 20 years old or less. In other words, we want to know how many people are in this box. A very good habit to literally circle, write a circle in the box and a question mark. That's what we need to find out. With that in mind, now we'll look at the statements. Statement 1, and here we're actually going to write the information near the diagram. The first row here, 21 and older, there are 640 people in that group. Given that information, can we figure out how many people are in the lower left-hand box? You can't, not quite. Now, what can you figure out? Well, if there are 640 people who are 21 or older, 250 live on campus, then the number of people who live off campus is going to be what? 640 minus 250, 390. You don't have to write that out, but just be aware that we could write it out. That's supposed to be a 9. We also know that if there are 800 students in total, 640 are 21 or older. That means 160 are 20 or younger. Two things we know, not enough to answer the question, might be helpful. So we got to cross off 1. We can't say that statement 1 gives us sufficient information, and therefore we can't say that each statement gives us enough information. So A and D are gone. Now, when you look at statement 2, very important to forget what you saw in statement 1, erase it from your mind, look at statement 2 in isolation. So I am literally going to erase what we just wrote out. This no longer applies as we look at statement 2. What does statement 2 tell us? It tells us that the number of people in this group down here is 60, under 21 and live off campus. So I ask, is that enough information to answer the question? It's not quite enough. We can find the sum of the people in this box and this box. That's going to be what? 800 minus 60 minus 250. So we do know the number of people in the lower left and the upper right. Not quite enough, so I'm going to erase all of that. We can't say that statement 2 gave us sufficient information. So A and D were gone, B is gone. Question, if we combine the statements, do we have enough information to answer the question? So now let's bring back in what we were told in statement 1. This is 640, which means this is 390. Statement 2, here we have 60. That was statement 2. So together, the two statements together will give you enough information to find out how many people live on campus and are 20 years old or less. So answer C, very, very important to get used to overlapping sets questions. They come up a lot. Hope that lesson helped. If it did, be sure to click the like button, share the video with friends who are taking the GMAT, subscribe to the channel. We'll see you in the next video.